You got to have enough reasons to do something. One of the challenges that most of us have is that we have a wish. I wish I had $1 million. I wish I had $100,000. I wish. No, you have to have an ardent desire to have it. And you got to be willing to do whatever it takes legally to get what you want. So that's one of the things.
What if the biggest obstacle to your next level of success isn't a strategy problem or a skill gap, but a blind spot that you've carried since childhood? Well, today's guest has spent 35 years helping high achievers unlock what's been holding them back all along. Welcome back to The Root of All Success. I am your host, the real Jason Duncan, and this is episode 346, take two. For those of us behind the scenes that know we've had a lot of technical problems, but hopefully this one's working. My guest today is Curtis McCullom. He's a mindset coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, and the founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. And through his LGET Mindset framework, which we'll talk about today, and some powerful modalities like NLP and mental emotional release, Curtis helps CEOs, he helps founders, he helps entrepreneurs like you reprogram the subconscious blocks that have silently held them back for years. He's also the host of his own show, the LGET Mindset podcast, which you can hear on any podcast player out there. And yours truly was one of his very first guests on that show. So you should go check it out. And then in that show, he dives deep into success and mindset and personal transformation. So Curtis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jason, for having me today, man.
Well, you've said that most entrepreneurs are fighting battles they don't even know that they're in, subconscious patterns that form as early childhood. So what do you see as the most common blind spot in high performing founders that's secretly sabotaging all of their growth?
You know, when you actually look at it, when you take a look at most individuals, I think the biggest thing that we all suffer from sometimes is the feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, not being the imposter syndrome. So even though we are successful at doing what we're doing, sometimes deep inside there is something that's preventing us from actually moving to the next level, breaking that income ceiling or breaking that relationship situation. A couple of people I've been coaching lately is they were success on paper, but the relationships were a mess. Why? Because they still had some baggage that they were carrying that they need to get rid of.
Now, you've spent over, as I said in the intro, 35 years in personal development, in sales, leadership. So, now you're doing something that's pretty interesting, which we're going to talk about. When did you first realize that surface level tactics weren't enough and that the real work had to happen at this subconscious level that you're talking about?
That's a good question. Because when I first started, I actually started about almost 35, 40 years ago, as you said. And the goal at that moment was for me to become a sales trainer or motivational speaker. So I went to see all the greats, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Dennis Waitley. I studied all of them. I had a university on wheels. And I went into sales. I said, okay, I'm going into sales because I wanted to prove that my theory worked. And it did. I mean, within less than 18 months, I was number one in the company. I broke company records that had never been broken before. And so I was working it. And then, boom, just like most of us, I sabotaged. And I hit a roadblock. And the sad part about that is that, or best part, whichever how you look at it, is that I actually stayed in the financial services industry for almost 35 years. As a sales manager in sales, breaking sales and doing all this kind of stuff. And then 5 years ago, I wanted to become a coach. I said, okay, I'm in a position that I can retire, and I did. And I went into coaching. And then this is where it really hit me, Jason, is that I became a certified executive coach. Hated it, absolutely hated it. Because that's not what made me successful. Telling me, I'm telling you how to set a goal, or, oh, what was your week like this week? I'm like, oh man, this is not fun at all. And so I went back to my roots. I became a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I became master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming and mental and emotional release, because I felt that in order to have true change, it can't just be cognitive. Cognitive is just talking about it. I thought that we need something deeper, which is 95% of all our behavior on a subconscious level.
Now, your framework that you've invented or come up with is called the LGET Mindset, which stands for learn, grow, expand, transform. So, walk us
Yes.
through how that model came together and why those four stages matter.
Well, for some, I was asking God, and sometimes people call it God, universe, or whatever you call it. Mm, Don't send Jason or me a note. That's the label that you use, and always remember, guys, a label, because everybody's perception of the world deals with labels, and so the meaning of it is your own personal meaning. But my meaning was God, and I was asking God, "Hey, what is this life all about?" I've had some success, I've had some failures, have some setbacks, heartbreaks, and all of these things. What is it all about? And I read a book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. I think his name is Bruce Weiss. And in that book, he was doing some therapy on a young lady. And what the gist of it was that in her life or in between lives, because he was dealing with past lives, that everything was about learning, meaning like in her perception of her world, that even in her afterlife, we were still learning. And then like a light bulb came on, like, oh my God, that's it. It's like whatever we're going through, whatever this journey is all about, it's all about learning. It's all about growing. It's all about expanding. It's all about transforming. And it doesn't stop. I mean, because every time we reach a new plateau, every time we set a new goal, a new opportunity, guess what? We have to learn it. We have to grow from it. We have to expand. We have to transform.
So, you're working with CEOs, you're working with entrepreneurs who sometimes look successful on the outside but feel stuck on the inside. So,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
that? What's the moment that most of them finally admit that something deeper is going on?
And that's the hard part. That's the challenging for most CEOs and entrepreneurs. No one wants to admit that there's something going on. They see it, they feel it, they know they're not getting the results that they want, but no one wants to be coached, right? And it's like, and it's sometimes when it comes to me, it's almost like a last resort type thing. It's like I tried the fire walk with Tony Robbins. I did this. I've gone to therapy. I've done all of these things, and I still have this something that's blocking me from being who I am. And I think one of the biggest things I always tell individuals is that the first level of growth is acknowledging. And I tell people all the time, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to be pretend that you're okay and you're not. So as soon as we can be okay with admitting that, yeah, something is not quite right, that's where growth actually starts. The acknowledgement.
Okay, so in your own journey, was there a specific breakthrough or a breakdown that fundamentally changed how you were approaching personal growth?
And it's every day. Really, it is. I think as late as, because, like I said, it's never ending. That's the thing about it too. People say, "Well, I've arrived." No, you haven't. If you have, that means you stop growing. You stop learning. It's always a continuous process. I love to tell the stories because a few weeks ago, I'm saying weeks. I'm a country boy from Mississippi, so I understand the Tennessee thing. So a few days might be a few months or even years. So, but a few months ago, I was getting all these breakthroughs for these individuals I was working with. I mean, like sometimes daily, I mean, really quick breakthroughs, and they like changed their lives. And then I looked at myself, I'm like, what's wrong? Something is not quite right with me. What is it? And so I called one of my buddies and we did a mental and an emotional release session, which takes about 10 minutes. And and then the thought that was coming up for me was that success is hard and difficult. Success is hard and difficult. And in the mental and emotional release, you actually kind of allow your subconscious to float back to that time, whatever it says. That's what we do. And for me, it said I was around two. And then I float back to age two. I didn't know what was going on at age two. And we got some learnings that I'm persistent, I'm successful, I'm confident. That was the learnings I got from that. Floated back and gave all the learnings to all the things, all the failures and setbacks I've had with that feeling, that new learning. Well, I was curious. I called my mom. I says, "Mom, what was happening in my life around age two?" She said, oh, she's like, she laughed. She's like, oh, your sister was being born and she was in diapers. I mean, you were in diapers and she was being born. And I didn't want two babies in diapers at the same time. So I needed to potty train you at 18 months. This is what she said. And it was hard and difficult. The same thing that I accepted and decided at age 2 when my mom was potty training me was the same thing that was sabotaging me along my life, all of my life, really. I mean, I can remember when I go back and look at some instances, I can recall it easily that when I sabotage is because this belief that it's hard and it's difficult.
Mm. You know, there's a lot of skepticism, and I'm sure you know, around modalities like hypnotherapy and even NLP. So how do you explain what you do to someone who's never considered that kind of work before?
That's a good question too, Jason. Number one, you've already been hypnotized because hypnotism or hypnosis is just focused attention. And if you've ever been in a situation where you've been in the zone, things just working for you. I mean, it's just like you're on autopilot and things are just falling into place. That's a form of hypnosis. If you've ever been driving and you kind of space out a little bit, but you make it to your destination safely and you don't recall how you got there, that's a form of hypnosis. Or if you've been in a movie where you suspended your actual critical faculty and you're laughing and you're crying, and that's a movie, you know it's a movie, but it's affecting your emotions in a certain way, that's a form of hypnosis. Meaning like your critical faculty is relaxed, then the focus is now shifted so that now your mind can focus on something specifically. That's what we do on purpose and with purpose. So we take your thoughts, and now we relax your critical faculty so that now you can talk to the bigger part of yourself, which is 95% of all of our behavior. Then that's where most change happens. So it's like people say, oh, I've never been hypnotized. Yeah. If you watch the commercial, especially these drug commercials lately, they hypnotize you instantly. Why? They have you dancing to music that you are very comfortable with. You forget that that's a drug commercial and they're talking about someone dying from diabetes. So sometimes I have to help people be dehypnotized in order for it to actually hypnotize them to have really positive change.
And you also talk about, of course, the name of your coaching company is Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, and so you talk about bespoke daily mental supplements, right? So
Yes, yes.
what does ongoing subconscious maintenance look like for somebody who's already had a breakthrough? So they went through, I got a breakthrough, realized that there's something
Okay.
going on deep. How do you do this ongoing subconscious maintenance with these bespoke daily mental supplements?
And what I do is in when we doing a session, and the first part of our session, if you go through a breakthrough with me, it's an 8-hour session. It's a 1-day mindset reset, what we call it. So it's 4 hours one day and 4 hours the second day. And during that day, we do talk to you cognitively, find out what is the root cause of what's driving your behavior. Then we find out all the learnings. We find out what your goals and your objectives are, and we formulate your words through a what I call a bespoke daily mental supplement. So what it is just a meditation where I'm relaxing you, telling you to close your eyes, take deep breaths, relax, and then we tell you what you already know, what you want to believe. So that helps condition the new behavior that we've already installed. So that kind of keeps it going. And then also what I do, I teach you how to do self-hypnosis. That's the most powerful part of it is now I'm teaching you tools so that you can continue to actually condition the mind. It's interesting to me that we take for granted that life change is permanent, which it can be, but think about all the negativity that we are exposed to every day. And so it's so important, just like we have dental hygiene, we need mental hygiene. And part of that, I formulated the bespoke daily mental supplements.
All right, we're going to get back to Curtis in just a moment, but I've got a word from our sponsor. And one little thing I want to share with you as a listener before we get into the sponsorship is if you're an entrepreneur, and I assume that you are because you're listening to the show, and you've ever even had just a glimmer of a thought about what is it going to look like one day when I exit this business, whether you sell it, whether you give it to your kids, whatever it is, what's it going to look like? Well, do you know that there's a few things that you need to think about before you exit? And if you don't think about them, you're going to lose money. Well, I put together a free 1-hour training online. You can watch it anytime at whattofixbeforeyouexit.com. It's called whattofixbeforeyouexit.com. Go register. It's free and it's real training. It's not some webinar where I'm trying to sell you something in disguise. It's actually real training. They'll show you the 7 things you need to really consider if you ever want to sell your company or you ever want to exit in the future. Now, if you've been looking at a way to build wealth, smarter way to build wealth, smarter way to manage your cash flow, a smarter way to control your financial future, I want to tell you about our sponsor for today's show, Bank on Yourself. You've probably seen it on TikTok or on YouTube or on Instagram, these guys talking about how you can become your own banker, how you can use certain ways that you put your money where it works for you tax-free forever. Well, this Bank on Yourself is a proven strategy that lets you create your own private source of funding without banks, without credit checks, without tedious applications, and your money grows year over year over year, every year. And it stays protected from market volatility, and you even set your own terms for borrowing and repayment. And I've talked to entrepreneurs all over the country who are using this, and they're using this method to fund their business growth, their investments, major purchases, all the while building long-term wealth. So if you want to learn how this could work for you, you can book a free 15-minute confidential session with one of the specialists that I work with. And you can do that for free. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/bankonyourself. That's therealjasonduncan.com/bankonyourself. And you can book that confidential session with a specialist. Now, let's get back to the show. So Curtis, a lot of people think that mindset work is about positive thinking or it's about motivation. What do you think is the biggest misconception about what real transformation actually requires?
Work.
Yeah. Magic is in the action, baby.
Yeah, magic is in the action. It's like the bottom line, real transformation is not hype. It's not, like I said before, I mentioned just in passing, I've done the Pharaoh walk and I felt really good when I left, and I'm like, oh my God, I can change the world. And then 24 to 48 hours later, I'm the same old person I was before because I didn't have real change. Real change basically is really identifying what is the root cause that's actually driving the behavior that you want to change. And it's usually something that is on a subconscious level and not conscious level. To give like the example I used before is like, okay, every time I hit this high when I became number 1 in the world, I talked about that earlier in the show, I sabotaged. And this is how bad I sabotage. I do not tell anyone to do this. In my number 1 speech in front of 1,000 people, I dropped the mic and quit the company. And so that's how bad mine was. So basically what I'm saying is that these things are but it takes work. It takes conscious effort to really dig deep a little bit and then to maintain it, just like anything else. I mean, I have a trainer. I have a trainer for my body, for nutrition, right? And I work out 3 days a week. 3 days, like I'm 61, but I don't feel 61. I don't look 61. I don't take any medications. Why? Because I'm going to either invest in my health or pay for bad health. And that's kind of what it's all about. Are you willing to invest in your mindset, or you're paid a price with less income or with bad relationships or with whatever? So you have to make that choice.
So you use a mental emotional release. I think you even mentioned that earlier in the show.
Yes.
And you do that to help clients let go of these negative emotions without having to relive that trauma. And
Absolutely.
And I imagine it is, but how is that different from traditional therapy or talk-based coaching?
Well, for one negative emotion, it takes about 8 minutes. mean, 8 to 10 minutes to release that negative emotion. That's how fast it is. I mean, it's quick, it's fast. I mean, it's interesting when you going through it. And normally we start with anger, sadness, guilt, fear, the big ones, and then whatever we've kind of uncovered during our cognitive session. So that part of the session of the breakthrough might have about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of what I call cleanup or baggage work. But yeah, that's the difference, is that when a client was working with me, she said, Curtis, you did more in 1 hour than I did with 10 years of therapy. Because we're not
Why
going
do
to
you
talk
why
about,
do you think that is though? That's really interesting to me, and I don't disagree with you.
yeah.
I believe you. So, but why do you think that is?
Well, because the fact that this is the thing, most people talk about symptoms.
Hmm.
So if a coach, if you go to a coach and says, wow, I'm procrastinating, then they'll say, okay, great. When are you procrastinating? Oh, when I'm getting ready to do a report. Okay. So now let's work on that. So now when you get ready to do the report, think about not procrastinating, or now what are you going to do instead? Right. So now you're doing more willpower. Willpower is only 5% of our behavior. That's why we get tired. That's why people burn out, is because they're using their willpower. The difference is that you says, I'm procrastinating. I says, great. When was the first time that ever happened? You're like, no one ever asked me that question. Yeah, when was the first time it happened? Oh, I remember that when I was in the second grade and the teacher told me to do something and I didn't do it until the last minute. Okay, now what was happening in your life at that time? To figure out what is, oh, I remember now whatever happened. So now what we've done is, instead of dealing with the current issue of procrastination, that procrastination may not have nothing to do with procrastination. It may be something that the teacher said when you were in grade school, that you are always slow. You never have your stuff on time. That's the original belief. So through mental and emotional release is that we go back to that root and get rid of the root and give it a new learning. You remember, it's all about learning. The subconscious mind loves learning. It loves to know it. Once it learns what it needs to learn, it lets go of the emotion that's actually being held, or the feelings of that emotion. Now, the thought is still there, but when you look at the incident in real time, it's not there anymore. And that's the difference.
Curtis, what's something that you used to believe that you don't believe anymore?
Can I say that on the air or not? No.
Yeah, that's why I ask it.
Well, no, true. Well, to be totally honest with you, is that I was born and raised in Mississippi. I mean, I was born and raised in Mississippi in the 60s. And my father was a fire and brimstone preacher. And the church that we went to was very, very conservative, in the sense that everybody was going to hell. And so one of the biggest beliefs that really caused me a lot of trauma was my religious experience. That I had to get over that. I mean, because I always had a conflict with who I was becoming. I was generating at one point over $1 million in sales with a team of 3 or 4. And then I have a conflict of, is this godlike, or is this not, or is I'm doing the right thing, and all of this. So basically those big conflicts like that really, 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 really did something for me. So that I don't believe anymore. I now have reconciled the fact that that's not true, and that the God I serve wants me to be rich, wants me to be prosperous, wants me to be whatever I need to be. And one of the things I always tell people all the time is there's a passage in the Bible that Paul talks about, and I just use it as a principle. He says, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. And so I truly believe that we're not limited to what we can have, and we cannot blame God for what we don't have. That's the thing about it. And that's the big belief I have now. I don't blame the outside world for where I am, wherever I am on my journey right now. I'm here because of my thoughts I'm here because of what I believe. I'm here because of my own personal actions. And that passage to me says God is not on the judge. He's just not being judged because he says he's able. But he says you got to ask or think. That means that we have the power of thought. We have the power to change our minds. And we have the power. I believe that we have all the resources within us to become the best version of ourselves. So when we are able to tap into that power, get rid of the baggage and tap into that power, things happen and things happen quickly.
So the name of this show is The Root of All Success. So I got to ask some questions around that. So what do you believe, Curtis, in all these years of you being successful has been the one thing that has unlocked success for you more than anything else?
I would still go back to kind of mindset and persistence. I mean, like I think in the book Think and Grow Rich, he talks about definiteness of purpose, right? You got to have enough reasons to do something. One of the challenges that most of us have is that we have a wish. I wish I had $1 million. I wish I had $100,000. I wish. No, you have to have an ardent desire to have it, and you got to be willing to do whatever it takes legally to get what you want. So that's one of the things I think is just that having that ardent desire and really want to, and that's even comes with change. If you're not ready to change, I interview people all the time, and I'm like, okay, from 1 to 10, where are you on the scale of wanting to change? 1 meaning like nah, and 10 meaning like, yeah, I got to do it today. And they said, I'm about 3. I says, okay, I don't deal with 3s. Because 3 to me is not, you don't have what it takes to actually change. You have a wish. You don't really want to change.
So how do you personally define that word success?
Now I define it with the legit mindset. Meaning like, regardless of what we're going through, failures are not failures. Failures is an opportunity for us to learn. Failures and setbacks are not setbacks. It's just, wow. Sometimes setbacks are set ups, and setbacks, it's like now it's setting me up for something new. It's now a setback or failure is like, wow, what can I do differently in order for me to actually become who I want to become? So now for me, when I think about success, man, when I truly think about success, I think about the fact that whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm experiencing right now, either if it's good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't really matter. There's still a learning opportunity for me. It's something that I can grow from, that I can expand, and I can definitely transform and become a better version of Curtis.
Based on that definition, Curtis, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And success, because guess what? Our whole ideal is I'm okay when I'm feeling sad. I'm okay when I'm feeling like not doing what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Because wherever I'm going through at the time, that's all it is that it's an emotion that needs to be communicated. And sometimes that's one of the fears is like, wow, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm supposed to be on all the time. Well, no, you're human. Sometimes we don't feel like it, and it's okay. And that's when we need to stop and allow ourselves to communicate with ourselves. I tell people just stop. It's like, I'm feeling angry. I'm not angry. I'm not identified with anger. I am feeling anger. I'm feeling like I'm not successful today. Well, sometimes you feel like that. And that's okay. Now you have to stop and says, okay, what is it that's driving this feeling? Oh, okay. Yeah, because X, Y, and Z, or this, or because my wife said something, or whatever it is. And your mind, and you have the power to really change it, because once you get a good meaning for it and we can reframe it from that lens, it becomes powerful. Then the subconscious mind says, okay, now I feel good again. I'm okay.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. So as we get ready to close out our conversation today, I have a few rapid fire questions I want to ask you. Are you ready for those?
Let me put my seatbelt on. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. All right, first one. What's one book that shaped your understanding of the mind more than anything else?
Think and Grow Rich.
I love it. I love it. You and I are on the same page there. All right, yeah. Second, what's the best investment you've ever made in yourself?
Probably I would say in myself would be learning new things. I mean, because I love to learn. I'm a life learner. You know, I think you share with me when you're on the show with me that not psychonet, I can't even say it.
Psycho-cybernetics.
Yeah, psycho-cybernetics. And so as soon as you said it, I've read it many times. I went and started reading it again. So yeah, I love learning, and it's been
That's
great.
great.
The fifth time is even better.
Yes, it gets better every time you read it. All right, final one for today. Curtis, if you could go back and coach your younger self through any one moment, what moment would you choose and why?
That's a good one. Probably the one that always comes to mind for me, and I've had a few, is when I became number one in the world. I was number one. I was in the insurance industry. I was number one in the company. I broke records, and if I could have told myself then what I know now, that the feelings that I was having, it was natural. You know, I think for me is like that moment was, I felt it was defining. And then even that moment, I always thought that was the moment that drove my behavior throughout my career. And that would, we found out it wasn't, but that would be the one. Just like, wow, girl, you're okay, Curtis. You can go through this. Yeah, that's the one, I think.
Yeah. Well, Curtis, man, congratulations on your success and what you've been able to build over these past 30 plus years, man. It's awesome what you're doing. I love your mindset. I love the humility in your spirit. I can see it and feel it. I know what you're trying to accomplish. Well, you and I have the same views about a lot of things, same perspectives. And let's face it, that's good to get around people that that have the sameness. You know, there is something to diversity, but I think there's something to sameness as well. And when we get around people who are the same, and there's something good in that. And I appreciate you for being here. So how can people get in touch with you? How can people connect with you?
They can connect with me at my website. They can go to Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, or just go to curtismccullom.com. You'll still get there. And where there, you'll see all the things that I offer. You can get a free consultation there where you can come and just talk with me. And also I do a lot of stuff on social media, everything on LinkedIn and also Facebook and Instagram and all of those platforms. YouTube, I have a lot of stuff on YouTube too. So you can kind of get a feel for who I am. And then when you're ready, just give me a call. We'll sit down and talk.
Well, for those of you listening and you want to know how to spell his name, it's Curtis, 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 and McCullom is McCullom. That's McCullom. Curtis McCullom. Curtis, thank you for being on the show. Congrats on your success, and we really appreciate you being a guest here today.
Oh, man, it's been my pleasure. Great conversation, man.
Well, there you have it. Another very successful person sharing a journey through growth over decades of understanding what the human mind potential actually has and how to go back to that block. You know, for him, he talked about that block started when he was 18 months old, getting potty trained. He didn't even have the thought about it. He didn't even understand it yet. It was there. I wonder what's there in old Jason Duncan's brain. I wonder what's in the subconscious of blocking me. But you know what? That's the cool thing about hypnotherapy. I love what he does. If you've never looked into hypnotherapy, it is not this wackadoodle thing where they're going to make you cluck like a chicken. That's not what this is. I would encourage you to take a look at it. Go look into it. I have a hypnotherapist I work with on a fairly regular basis. I love working with them, and I think that somebody like Curtis could be a good opportunity for you. If you're a CEO, if you're a leader, you're an executive, you're an entrepreneur, this is one little extra way to dig into what you're missing, like get to that next level. So go check it out. And thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here today. And I want you to tune in again next week when I talk with yet another very successful person about his or her journey to success. Until then, as always, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. cut your daily operations time in half, improve your quality of life, and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.